Hey there. Wait, I can't
I
hear
just
you.
sent you an email.
Oh God.
No, I didn't just send you. I'm sending you now.
Okay.
Doesn't understand that I write water boy in one way. Okay, so I just sent it to you. So I just got off the phone with Ed Dvorak, who is like my mentor. He was one of the two mentors that we met on 2 Thursdays ago when we first were competing for the event.
Nice.
He's a super nice guy. He worked with Spalding for decades, and
I hear such nice things about that company. I feel like everybody that worked there had a good experience.
yeah, that's what I hear. So he's a nicest guy in the world. He works in Chicago. I didn't want to bring up the fact that they're killing people in Chicago, but that's another story.
You
Like over
can't talk about anything these days. You gotta be careful. You
oh
gotta
my
be
God.
careful.
But he's you'll meet him, you'll know he would have been cool about it. But I just heard that they had 102 shootings over the weekend, 14 deaths in
It,
Chicago.
it's so bananas. And I guess the Seattle, that whole like community that they were building, they're finally like dismantling that. It's like
Yeah,
it's scary right now.
it is. It's crazy, crazy world. And yeah, and this tearing down the monuments. I'm my one of my
I had
best friends and I had a big discussion last night about it, and she's like screaming, and I'm like, okay, listen, you've got she's black first of all, and she's like, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives. I'm like, all lives matter. Don't you understand? It's not you want equality. You don't want to say like Black lives are here and everybody else is over here. That creates that disharmony.
It does. You know, it's funny. I'm feeling so bad for my mom right now. This is like a tough, like, so my uncle, my mom was 15. My mom's lost all three of her brothers to like tragic accidents.
Oh
Like
my
all
God.
three of my uncles died in like crazy, tragic ways. And so my first uncle, I obviously wasn't born yet. My mom was 15 and there were the race riots that were happening in Newark. And I feel so bad for my mom because honestly, what happened was, as a backlash to everything that's going on, there was an angry black man, and he honestly just walked up and shot my uncle because he was white.
Holy shit.
He was 19 years old. There was no motivation. He walked up. My uncle was a passenger in a car, shot him, dead. So I feel so bad for her because honestly, when the Trayvon Martin stuff was happening, I was working for the Devils in Newark. And I'm telling you, my grandmother called me every single day and she was like, I want you to call me when you're walking out the door, call me when you get in your car, and call me when you get back to the city. And honestly, as crazy as it was, I understand where she was coming from because all of this that's going on. And my mom's like, look, just don't engage with people because people are nuts. And you have to be careful because all this craziness that's going on, and again, I think so much of it is the fact that you bottled people up for months,
Yeah.
and people are nuts. People are nuts right now, and I just feel so bad because my mom's in the midst of the corona craziness at work. She's a nurse, like she's a nurse for pediatric oncology kids. These poor kids are like, they're all on their wits end and
Wow.
scared and all of that. And I think, quite frankly, she's so nervous that any of us, like, it was just a wrong time, wrong place kind of thing, and you don't have a lot of control over that. And so I feel bad for her because this is, I know, bringing up a lot of memories. But it's the monument thing, and I got to say, my husband and I were talking about it this morning. Tom went to Gettysburg. So we often go back, and it's like Gettysburg's like a fascinating place with,
Yeah.
like, they have obviously millions of monuments. Like when you drive around, it's a living museum. So Gettysburg has obviously been like the hot topic of a lot of these monument conversations. And interestingly enough, we went to, not to get like totally off track, but you can use this with your friend. They have this Remembrance Day. It's in November and it's remembering the Gettysburg Address. And they
Right.
have this guy who's like this Lincoln impersonator who's fascinating, gets up and does the speech. But ahead of time, they have some historian, and like the topics are always very different. This was probably 3 years ago when the stuff was going down, I want to say in Virginia, in Charlottesville with the burning of the monuments and stuff. And this guy had and again, as an art history person and as an art history major, I have a huge problem with destruction of statues because it's art.
It is art.
It's art. I don't care if you don't like it. It's art. When I was in Ireland and studied abroad, they had this frickin' statue of Queen Elizabeth, who, I'm Irish. We all hate Queen Elizabeth. And look, they put the statue in the basement, but like they weren't destroying it. Like they put the beautiful statue in the basement. Nobody frickin' saw it. Who cares? But it's art. It belongs in a museum. So like, if you're going to go around and destroy all these statues, like, it's not your place. Like, they are a reflection of the time. And the guy's point was, and this is what's you can use. The guy's point was, rather than tear down the monuments, wouldn't it make more sense to build more Black monuments, juxtapose them, and show how far we've come
Sure,
in
of course.
our history? And it's like, you know, he was basically saying, like, if you want to have, like, all right, you got Robert E. Lee, why don't you have a statue of Muhammad Ali right across from him? Or the first Black person in the U.S. court? Like, there's different things that they can be doing. It's not erasing the past. It's you have to add to the narrative and juxtapose them to show how far things were come. And the way he said it, just about, like, it's not about tearing down statues. It's about building more statues that represent, like, Black accomplishments. It's just the one thing that's driving me, and then I'll stop venting. The one thing that's driving me crazy with all of this is I feel like everyone's been so disrespectful to Martin Luther King. And they're like, this is the greatest Black movement. It's like, I'm sorry, what? Like, you can't disrespect that man like this. Like, I understand this is a movement, but part of this is because people are Corona crazy right now.
Yeah, but what I told my friend is, you know what? We wouldn't be here if we didn't have Jefferson, Washington, Adams, all those guys.
They're not bad people.
Yeah, they were great people. If they were 100 years later, they would have been the ones fighting with Lincoln to free the slaves, no question. And if they were in they're currently now, they would be the ones trying to, within the law, create equity between Black and white people, because they built the laws. They were proponents of laws, and what I put is that we're standing on the shoulders of these giants. If these giants go away, we're back without the view that we have from being on top of their shoulders.
I'm totally with you. I'm
preaching the choir.
So on a work note, I thought that meeting today went great. Both of those guys are so great. I love those two.
Yeah, they are.
They're great. Like, they're so easy and, like, smart, and, like, they get to the point. There's none of this BS. I love them. So I think they already have access to the Google Doc. We're all kind of getting on there. So I think we're in a good spot. So I thought that went well.
Oh, very well. Yeah.
I just want to touch base with you so that as I set up these meetings, I'm not going rogue. And I just want to pull up your email. So, all right. So we did I'm just looking at these teams we broke out. I feel comfortable in the pro and semi-pro sports league and marketing development. Like, I'll get that gang together and chat through it. Like, that's a no-brainer. For college marketing and development, what are your thoughts on what we're trying to accomplish? Like, what's the initial goals and tasks that we're, like, on a short term trying to accomplish?
Okay, so what do coaches need? See, there are three places I think where we can really hit the ball out of the park in college. One is, of course, recruiting.
Yep.
And in order for that to happen, we have to have an app that works with the coach, and the coach can look into our population and screen down to what they need. I need somebody who's 200 pounds, 6'2", or bigger, blah, blah, blah. Right. So, and then you can have some of those stats verified with that little thing that I've invented that's sort of like a yellow UV sticker, a badge. And so we can award those to people who verify their stats. And when we take on these sports, sport by sport, we have to talk to a college coach and saying, what stats can we put in front of you that can be verified? And what do you care about that's going to make you call up a kid in New Jersey and tell that kid to get on a plane and pay for the kid's plane ride to UCLA? You know, what's the key? What's going to make him happen? Do you need to watch them do something? Do you need to watch a video of them playing? Do you need to watch that verification video that shows they can pitch a 95-mile-an-hour fastball? You know, do you want to see a chart of them getting faster or stronger over the years? And all that stuff is really sort of key to how we can present it to them. Right. Now, also, there are at least two programs in every college I know of. There's an interscholastic program and intramural program that usually includes a rec center.
Yep.
Okay, so there are usually more people playing in the rec center than there are in the collegiate program or in the club programs. And that's the club programs are sort of like that middle area where they could play intercollegiately, but they're also a club program. And
Yeah,
so they might be under the intramural program or they might be under the interscholastic program.
got
So
it.
no. So and it all depends on what kind of school it is. If it's a Division I school, those are money sports
Yeah,
and contract sports. And then the club sports are usually what is considered the other sports. So
great.
they immediately fall into that club slash intramural program. So there's you have to play that by year. You have to walk in and say, okay, tell me how you're setting up your programs. How are you the other part that we can offer that I think is really important for the colleges is how are they managing the areas of the intramural program? We just built in Stony Brook, they just built a brand new intramural sports program building where they have, they have a billion Stairmasters and a billion ellipticals and tons of, like a whole floor of those things. And then they have rooms that they use for fencing, rooms they use for then they have a volleyball area, like a regular gym. And so there's a way that we can position ourselves there where it's a very simple scheduling system. And you say, okay, so how many areas you have, how are you working the signups for those areas, and do you have special programs like yoga programs, like you have 9 to 10, you have this, 10 to 11, you have this, and how do you sign people up for that? Does it cost them money? And if so, is it a subscription like a semester subscription, or is it a daily thing? So those kind of things are questions that you need to ask that are very easily answered in technology. That's the whole thing. This can be done. I was doing it back 40 years ago when I was computing. It's really easy.
Got it.
So,
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm kind of giving these guys some thoughts and then we hit the ground running. And then my thought was I was going to kind of do somewhat similar to what I did today, which was here's our goals, here's where I think we can divide and conquer the work. Here's where we need to hit the ground running. Go, 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 go. Does that make sense?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, great. I feel like I said, I feel comfortable with the pro group because I think that's an easy dividable one. And again, I already have some insight into a lot of what the league struggles are, and at least
Okay, tell me that. I don't know that, and I was going to ask you that question.
yeah. So I think we started to chat about it the last time I think just you and I connected, and I started with the Rangers, and so one of the things that the Rangers are a really interesting example. So all 32 NHL hockey teams have a youth program. They all have them.
Right.
And again, we got into that whole thing with USA Hockey. Everything's well funded. The NHL's involved. There's money. All of them have varying degrees of how good their programs are. So the Rangers are interesting because they're like the pinnacle program. Like they're very, very good. And my experience with coming in with them when I worked at that nonprofit and we were the equipment distributors, it's not like we got a better deal at Franklin than they did. Franklin's a licensee of the league. Like Adam Franklin was giving them amazing deals. Like there was no benefit. There was no reason to work with us. The reason they had to work with us was, quite frankly, they had maxed out their capacity employee-wise. So most of these community teams, so like anytime the New York Giants, the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, the Knicks are working with the community, they all have to. It's part of their agreement with the leagues. They tap into their community department, and their community department is 2 people. These 2 people are in charge of running. Like this is a true across all the leagues and all the teams. So like this is where I know this is a problem. These community departments are like 2 people. They're tasked to do, and I'll give not to sidetrack, but the New York Jets. The New York Jets have 4 platforms that they are running 2 staffers. They're totally overworked. So anything we can take off their plate from an administrative standpoint is always bonus. So we should just keep that in the back of our heads. 2 people, lots to do. So back to the Rangers, they had kind of maxed out their capacity. Like they had 40 programs up and running. They were getting equipment. They had a kid who's like, again, he had a million things to do. He had to take days out of his job to like pack equipment and physically ship like they're doing administrative stuff that they could have paid somebody else to do. So my company at the time came in, and from an administrative relief perspective, we took over everything so that they could get from, okay, we're helping 40 programs to then we were helping 85 programs. It was the same budget. So there wasn't any budget ask, which is why this ended up being such a fruitful relationship. I took that relationship from, they gave me $15,000 the first year. 2.5 years later, they were giving me 105.
Wow.
Yeah, this is big. Like this just happened. So like, this is real time. So because they got money from the league and USA Hockey to bolster this situation. And again, I wasn't offering them any discount they couldn't get directly through Franklin. It was more a matter of, I warehoused the equipment for them. I had my team pack it up. I had my team contact the centers and my team ship and deliver it to them.
Wow.
So my team was customer service. So
what can we do?
So learning all of this, one of the pain points that they've always had, and I think I mentioned this last time, was their junior ranger program spans both. I'm a paid, hey Carolyn, I'm good, I'm just on my Zoom, solving the world's problems one youth hockey player at a time. So they serve everyone from, I'm a rich kid in Darien, Connecticut, and I play for the Junior Rangers hockey team, to I'm the poorest kid in Harlem and I don't even know what a hockey stick is. Wow. They have that whole spectrum. And so obviously they're not pumping money into the kid from Darien. They're just simply a governing body that offers them discount tickets and offers them opportunities to come meet a player, and they have like perks. But the whole point is to get that kid in as a fan at a young age, because if you're not in as a hockey fan at a young age, you're not going to be. So that's why they pump the money in. So like there's still money and funding and programming going on over there, but they are spending dollars to get hockey sticks in hands of the kids that are underprivileged.
Wow.
But their pain point in all of this is, how can we communicate more effectively to these kids? How can we create a community of all these kids? Kid from Darien, kid from Harlem, they all still have phones. They're all still able to access Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, different types of community platforms and ways to communicate with each other. So I think we have a pretty immediate solution for them. And I think if we can migrate, they have thousands of kids signed up already. Like if we can migrate their thousands of kids over to our platform and really prove to them right off the bat that they've got something there, and we can add an easy way for the parents to sign up the kids, because obviously we all know that the parents have to sign up the kids can't sign up themselves. If we can come up with some type of hook there, we're gold to them.
So how do you think we do that? What's your feeling there?
Well, my thought was I was going to set up a meeting with, so my main contact over there is this guy I was mentioning before, Rick Nadeau, and Rick is oversees the Knicks and the Rangers. He oversees all of community platforms for Madison Square Garden. Rather than go straight to Rick, there's a guy who just does the Rangers. He's my age. He's a little bit younger. I can pick his brain and ask those questions in a much more conversational way, and also get a little bit of insights without really realizing that he's giving me insights. Dave's a nice guy, but Dave's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But I feel like if I talk to Dave and then get these insights and then we present to Rick, I think we have the opportunity to pitch to the Rangers and the Knicks.
Wow, that's
fantastic. But I want to prep it because we got one shot at this and I don't want to blow it. Rick's a really smart guy, but I think that if we can prove a solution, and again, I want to pinpoint exactly what the problem is and exactly how we can help them. Because I think if we can migrate those people over, that's a ton of followers right off the bat.
Do those kids and their families already have a social platform?
Yeah, they sign up through the New York Rangers website.
And then what happens?
They get exclusive content. They get exclusive, opportunities to buy discount tickets. There's a kids' day. It's like there's programming that's attached to it. I would say it's always a work in progress.
So if one kid wants to talk to another kid in that community,
they have no connections. I don't think we can.
So that's what I really think all along. I've thought forever is that not only do we need to have the sports represented, but we have to have ways that it's easy for a kid to talk to another kid.
And again, like, obviously we have to prove to them how we can do that safely, but yes. And I think that that's what we're offering them, is a connectivity amongst their groups that they don't have right now. And I think why this is so big is this is one team. There are 32 of them. Yeah. And that's only one league. So I think that that's an easy conversation for me to have, because I think this guy's very transparent, and I know that's a pain point. It's something we've talked about it for 3 years at this point. We haven't been able to solve it. Like, I can tell you right now, the company I used to work for couldn't solve it. Like, so that's something that's a pain point. They voiced it as a pain point. We could certainly help. You know, and the other thing that, so again, if you magnify that by, baseball's probably got that issue, and I certainly can confirm it with my colleagues over there. They're restructuring like crazy. Football, I'm going to table for a second because I'm going to talk about that, but you got the MLS, you've got baseball, hockey, basketball, and football. You've got 5 leagues. They all have community programs as a league, and they all have community programs as individual teams. I mean, these are millions of kids. Millions.
And it's not, there's no cohesive.
There's nothing. And again, if this is this is where I think that there is pain points. We know them and we can come in. You know, again, I think if we can, if we have a safe platform for these people, like, sky's the limit.
So we definitely have to have
bulk numbers.
So what you're going to need there, you're going to need easy signups, and an opt-out kind of situation where they give us the emails and the kids automatically get signed up. We have to know certain things about them. We need to know their ages. We need to know their parents have to join with them if they're under 15. We can make it whatever age we want.
Yeah. But
for me, it's under 15. The parents have to be in, like, at least sign up, or an adult. It could be their coach. Just an adult who is going to take responsibility for the kids online. Between 15 and 12, they have their choice of whether the parents have to approve every friendship and every membership of every group, or just be able to oversee it and get an email or a text that says, Johnny just joined this basketball group.
Yeah, and I mean, I think these are all things that we can present, that we've got these filters and blah, 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 blah. The other, just like quickly, because I've got about 10 minutes and I've got to run. The flag football situation. They're very, like, the NFL is finally acknowledging the decline of tackle football, and they are, for the first time last year, was putting money into flag football, and that we got to get on that.
Absolutely.
So I thought I would I'm totally blanking on the guy's name. He used to play for the Giants. He's adorable. He's like a big teddy bear. He runs. This guy like him ran across the room and hugged me. I almost thought I was going to die. Scare the shit out of you if he tackled you. I can't even imagine. But I threw a party with them last year and had a really good conversation with him, like kind of like outside of a work situation. And there's a lot there. So they're putting funding behind that. And again, that's a new community that I would say is an interesting one. And I got to be honest, I loved John's idea about the freaking marching band.
That's a very cool idea.
I'm going to do some research because I know nothing on that, but like, that's a low hanging fruit. Well,
there are 3 parts there. Marching band, cheerleaders, and spirit dance.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 things that, if we can capture those audiences, and I've got a friend, actually an investor upstate around the Albany area, and she's like Ms. Cheerleader chick. So I can tag her and ask her, actually more spirit dance, but she's into that kind of stuff. But I think she might be too old. I think we have to find somebody who's.
I have 2 of my neighbors they're going to be juniors or seniors. I think they're going to be seniors. They're both in the frick is the spirit the thing with the batons? This is so not my realm of expertise.
That's twirling, but I think it falls under. I don't know what that falls
under.
They
compete like in state competitions.
Yeah, there's some girls who are doing all that practice in the local gym all the time, and they'll have like a whole floor, and they'll be throwing the baton up.
I'm really good friends with the parents. One of the guys was actually my brother's little league coach, which is so funny that he's now my neighbor, Coach Mark. I'm like still calling the guy Coach Mark. He's like 60 years old. I'm like, hey, Coach Mark. And he's like, you can just call me Mark.
Okay, you can call me Mark.
Oh my God, he's so funny. But his daughter and then my other neighbor, and I'm very friendly with both of them. The parents are very involved. I can certainly ask them like what the governing body is and figure out that. But I mean, look, I think those are kind of, that's trailing into like high school territory. But again, back to like the pro conversations, there is a very structured way that the leagues talk to youth programs. And then there's a very structured way that the teams talk to youth programs. It's a mammoth umbrella. And if we tap into even a portion of that, we'll be in a really good spot. And I think that if we are able to replicate, if we're able to show success and share it with the other leagues, the leagues are all, and I've got to stop using this expression because my father is a redheaded stepchild, but like, they're all freaking so egotistical at these leagues that if somebody's doing something and the other one didn't know about it, they all get like a little bit out of shape. And it's like, you can kind of like use that against them and be like, oh, you didn't know about that? Like they all get really self-conscious.
That's true.
And so, and again, they all know each other. And again, my biggest thing with these community people is the Ricks of the world. So this guy at MSG is a diamond in the rough. Most of these people are the dumbest people you've ever interacted with in their life. And quite frankly, the reason they're in the community section at these leagues is affirmative action. There's a lot of like, we got to put somebody there, and they're not necessarily the most motivated. So from a timing perspective, things move very slowly. I got a little bit of a flavor the past 3 or 4 years, let's say, working for this company of who's a little bit more motivated than others. So I know who's a little bit smarter, sharper, and faster. So I can start to, we want to obviously hit those guys first and then weed through. But I mean, I think that that's kind of a no-brainer for us.
That's awesome. That's really cool. If we can build that, build those capabilities. Now we're going to need very direct knowledge. You got to talk to your friend and find out how we have to build it. For the number one, we have to know what their security parameters are for the kids. Two, we need to know how the parents want to interact with this and how much.
Yep.
And if the parents want to hand off that responsibility to coaches, and give them that capability as well as
yeah, he's gonna be able to ask, like, and honestly, like, I'll have like a tee-up conversation with him, and then quite frankly, I think I could grab you on the phone and we could do like a Zoom with him. I think he's such a nice guy. I think he would be very insightful.
Let's do it.
And then I think that if we can build something, I mean, quite frankly, the reason he engaged my company in the first place was to solve this issue, and they never solved it. So I know they're proactively willing to hire people to solve this.
Cool.
So that's a good one. So that's kind of my pro angle that I'm going to try and set up the team. I'm trying to do like a meeting a day. So I'm going to try and set up the pro meeting and the college meeting for either probably Thursday and Friday, just because I haven't emailed those guys yet. But I was going to set it up today and try and get those meetings on the books and go from there. But I just want to make sure we're moving forward.
Excellent. No, this is fantastic. You're doing a great job.
Thanks. I'm having a great time. I'm loving it.
This is like, I get goosebumps thinking about this. This is so much fun.
Well, I mean, it's really exciting because there's just so much potential.
Yeah. And that's one of the, I think it's really important that we all keep that in mind, that there's so much potential, but we have to have a week goal, 2 weeks goal, 3 weeks goal, and make sure that we're hitting those targets. And if we don't understand why, and try to manage to it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that the way you've set this up with like having, let's say, a captain of each of these teams, even if it's just like a temporary captain,
right?
I think is good because honestly, I think that you're going to be able to see who's motivated, who shows up at these meetings, who contributes. Like it's good that you're sitting in on all of them. And I'm sure 2 months from now, you're not going to need to sit on all of them. Like this will be part of the weekly meeting is we can update you on that meeting and where we are and where we stand.
Right.
But I think as you're building out the team to see how people interact in these meetings, like today was such a great example of like Deb and Tony are both great and they both have a ton to offer and they were on time and active and engaged and like easy to work with and like took parts off everyone's plate and like made life easier. Like not everyone's going to be like that. And it's just going to be easy for you to kind of start to dovetail people into where they should be.
Yeah, exactly.
So these are all really good. So, and also I think that quite frankly, if by next Monday people haven't had these meetings or set up these meetings or done what they're supposed to do, like that's also a red flag.
Yeah. I'm definitely finding out who is more engaged right now. And I've gotten, we have two people who are basically AWOL. We have Ann Crandall, who I'm going to talk to today. I'm going to be tagging her all day trying to get a hold of her. And also Jim Patton. I know Jim was dealing with his death of his mom or his dad. I keep forgetting. So those two are basically AWOL. Dave is fighting this pancreatitis that's taken him out. And he's going to be more free for us. He said September.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think it's just a matter of, weeding through those people and understanding people have stuff going on. But I think for everybody else that doesn't necessarily have something going on, like most people are still working from home.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have time to multitask right now, like you're never gonna have time to multitask. Like this is the time. Like this is the time that if you have a side project, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, for real.
So I think that if people aren't engaged right now, that you don't know of obvious things going on with them, it's kind of like beat it. But anyway, yeah, I think we're in a good spot. I'll certainly set up those other two meetings. I'm glad you'll be in on them.
Me too. Now, the other part that we had to cover was the e-commerce side.
Yes, e-commerce.
And that's quick and dirty. We have Shopify. We have all this technology ready to go. I just started a new company, a new site rather, called UB United. So we can use that. I got both the .us, .net, and .org.
Awesome.
I want org to be obviously the nonprofit part of it.
Awesome. And I can certainly help with that side too.
Of course you can.
With my freaking vast 3-4 years in nonprofit, I want to blow my head off.
Yeah.
It's not a good speed for me.
I have a problem with that too, but it's so necessary, and it's really, really important that we work in a totally different way with the orgs, with nonprofits. And, we have to think differently. We have to act differently. We're probably gonna have to have different people involved. And I want us to be really using this to connect with the NGOs and also the government organizations that are doing this kind of stuff. Like there's so many organizations that are anti-obesity, anti-childhood diabetes. There's so many organizations around the wheelchair and disabled athletes. And they need help. There needs to be organization. They need a community because they really don't have a community. They have Facebook communities and that kind of stuff. But we want to get those ones who are active, who want to play wheelchair sports and disabled sports. And,
I think we're going to have a lot of luck in the sense that the fact that we're trying to appeal to those groups, there's a lot of synergies with, like, so Steph Curry's got a new foundation. It's anti-obesity. It's like Kobe Bryant's going to be doing something. That wife's trying to tap into everything she can.
I know.
That makes me sick. When you have like, and we're going to have to be somewhat strategic with this because it is a little bit selfish, but it's totally the way to go. When you can kind of start tapping into the athletes and the athletes foundations, the teams support them. So it's like almost an into teams and leagues, and like there's a way to use the foundation that, quite frankly, if we're having an issue getting into the NBA and all of a sudden we're in through Steph Curry and we're crushing it and he's getting tons of publicity, all of a sudden we're getting a meeting with the NBA. Like there's really strategic ways to use these nonprofits. And I got to say a lot, like I know I'm pretty familiar with wheelchair hockey. I had friends that coached it. There is an association with the NHL and wheelchair hockey and like the USHO, like the US Olympic Committee and the wheelchair sports. And so I think that if we can there's almost a way that we should think about how we want to approach those guys because it's an interesting intro into a lot of the leagues and governing bodies.
There's also sled hockey, right?
Sled hockey, yeah.
So that's not the same as wheelchair hockey, right?
Wheelchair hockey is like street hockey. Nobody really plays it. Sled hockey is like, there's like, it's real. Like it's supported. It's like competitive. They have
Right.
jerseys, and it's sled hockey is like incredible.
So that's something that obviously almost every sport that can be played by challenged people has these organizations that do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they also have a lot of NGOs and government entities that want to help support them, and the Olympic Committee.
I think that's an interesting one that, quite frankly, again, offering them the idea of a community is probably so appealing.
I love it. I love the concept also of, when a beginner starts doing these things, they have a certain wheelchair that is more forgiving, but less competitive. And then as you get better, you need to get a better piece of equipment or a better prosthetic and that kind of stuff. I think that also needs to be, we have a clearinghouse for that kind of stuff, and I think it would kick ass.
I agree. Knowing that I'm going to have to wrap up in like 5 minutes, do you want to have a separate and I apologize, I'm covering a house inspection that I didn't know.
I get stuff too.
Do you want to have a separate like hour brainstorm on e-commerce later this week?
Yeah, let's do that. I'm really free Thursday, Friday.
All right, so why don't you set up something that works for you Thursday, Friday?
Are you free all day or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I think I am, as of now. We'll see how this week goes.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably midday on Friday.
That would be fine.
Let me check my schedule. Hold on. I keep on doing this. I forget to look at my calendar and then I get screwed. Yeah, Friday looks right now totally open. So let's do something like around noon.
Yep, that works. You want to send the invite?
I'll send the invite.
Yeah, and then that sounds great, and we'll get that done. And actually, if you have a full hour, let's do a full hour, because I think we'll probably spend a half an hour on e-commerce and then maybe the second half hour on updating these other meetings that we'll have had.
All right, and I'll screen share you also that day and show you the Shopify site and how it works and all kind of
Awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to run through that because my wheels are really turning with all of that conversation about sled hockey and prosthetics, and like if we could offer that stuff in one space, holy smokes, is anyone doing that?
No. And I'm sure there are some kind of communities on Facebook and that kind of stuff, but I don't think there's anything.
Love it. I think that's so cool.
And I want to get people off Facebook as much as possible.
I hate Facebook.
And I think everybody else does too. I think everybody's like, I can't stand it. I have to be here because it's a necessary evil in this world. My people are. But if you're talking about sports, there's nothing supporting sports. There's nothing really that is functionally working for a group.
Yeah, I agree.
On Facebook. And if we do that and we start peeling those people off of Facebook, it's a big win.
People are ready. People are ready to get off.
Yeah.
I think people are over it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Well, awesome. Well, I'm sure I will talk to you later today, but if not, I hope you have a fabulous afternoon, and I'm sure I will be talking to you later.
Of course.
All right. See ya.
Ciao.
Bye.